Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the School Swimming Funding in 2021 webinar for mainstream schools. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. I did allow just an extra couple of minutes for a few more people to jump on, and it looks like we've got a few more with us now. Just to run through a few housekeeping things before we get started. As you may be able to see at the top of your screen, a little notification will have popped up. That is to notify you all that this webinar is being recorded so that you can share this with your fellow staff members who may have missed out on this webinar today. And you can also come back and watch it at any time at all. We will have quite a bit of information going on at today's webinar, so we do encourage you to take notes, but you are more than welcome, as I said, to rewatch this at a later date. Please make sure that your microphones remain muted throughout this presentation. You are all muted at the moment, so please make sure that that stays as it is. And also we do ask that you keep your cameras off as well. This just allows all the visuals to come through nice and clearly. And if you do happen to switch on your camera, you may get recorded in the recording as well. Now, we do encourage you guys to pop in any questions or comments that you do have into the chat box at any time during this presentation. Whenever they pop into your mind, pop them straight into that chat section and we can attend to these throughout the presentation, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the webinar as well. We would like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I would like to introduce our presenters today. First of all, my name is Caitlin Greenhill. I am a project officer for the Swimming and Water Safety Education team, mostly targeting schools, but I do assist the swim schools as well. And I, of course, work at Lifesaving Victoria. We are very, very lucky today to be joined by Liz White, who is the statewide swimming coordinator from the Department of Education and Training as well. So without further ado, I will pass you straight across to Liz White, who will talk us through the swimming in schools funding that we will have for 2021. So Liz, if you'd like to switch on your microphone and take it away.
Thanks, Caitlin. And thanks everyone for joining us. My name's Liz White, as Caitlin mentioned, and I'm the statewide swimming coordinator at the Department of Education and Training. I'll be here for the entire presentation, so if you have any questions at all, please put them in the chat function and I'll be able to answer them for you. My contact details will also be at the end of the presentation. But if you have pen and paper, you can email me on school.swimming@education.vic.gov.au. So today I'd like to give you an overview of the funding that will be available for swimming and water safety education in 2021. But to start with, I think it would be worthwhile just providing some background to the swimming and water safety. Caitlin, if you could just move the slides as appropriate, that would be terrific. So moving on to the next slide there. So swimming and water safety education has been part of the Victorian curriculum since 2017. So it's quite a new program to the curriculum. Since 2017 to current day, so December 2020, the Victorian government has provided $35 million in funding to support swimming and water safety education. This funding has supported two initiatives. The first one is the Swimming in Schools initiative, which provides funding for the delivery of swimming and water safety programs in Victorian government primary and specialist schools, as well as in Catholic primary schools. The second initiative is the Public Water Safety Initiative, which provides funding to Lifesaving Victoria for their delivery of resources and professional development to both the education sector as well as the aquatic industry. Moving on to the next slide. The objectives of this funding are to increase the delivery of the Victorian Water Safety Certificate program in both the education sector and the aquatic industry. It's to improve the data collection of competencies and participation rates for students. It's to ensure that schools deliver high quality and cost-effective swimming and water safety programs, as well as to ensure that both schools and the aquatic industry understand the support and the resources that are available to them. So as we're all acutely aware, 2020 has been an extraordinary year, and the bushfires and COVID-19 have resulted in most schools not being able to undertake their swimming and water safety education programs this year. As a result, the unexpended 2020 Swimming in Schools funding for both the Victorian Government's primary and specialist schools as well as the Catholic primary schools will be carried forward to 2021. In addition to this, the Victorian Government handed down the state budget on the 24th of November this year, and in that budget they committed a further $11.2 million to swimming and water safety education. This funding supports the same two initiatives, the Swimming in Schools initiative and the Public Water Safety initiative. And this funding is over an 18-month period from January 2021 through to June 2022. In terms of how much that funding, this new funding actually is for each school, the Financial Services Division has advised that they need to wait for the February census enrolments to be provided before they can calculate the per student rate for swimming and water safety programs. As a result, the confirmed SRP amounts will be provided to Victorian Government schools in the last week of Term 1, 2020. At the same time, we'll be liaising with the Catholic Education Commission of Victoria to confirm the amount to be provided to Catholic primary schools. So in summary, in 2021, schools that weren't able to undertake their programs in 2020 will have both the 2020 funds carried forward as well as the newly secured 2021 funds. The schools that were able to run their programs in 2020 will have the new 2021 funding, and they will know how much that is at the end of Term 1. So that's an overview of the funding that's available for both the Victorian Government primary and specialist schools and the Catholic primary schools. And now I'm going to hand back to Caitlin for her to take you through some of the programming designs and ideas that are available to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Liz. And just repeating that really, really important message there, that any unused funding from the 2020 Swimming in Schools funding that your school received as part of your student resource package at approximately March of this year can be used in 2021 to support your swimming lessons and school swimming programs. So a fantastic offer there, and making sure that you're really utilising that funding that you received this year if you weren't able to do so this year. So what we will do now is move straight into some different ways that you can actually utilise this funding to make sure that you can achieve your best school swimming programs in 2021. Now, obviously 2020 has been a very challenging year, and we do acknowledge that many programs were cancelled, as Liz mentioned earlier, due to either the bushfires or COVID-19. Now, that is why we have quite a few goals to achieve in 2021. Our first goal is to see as many students achieve the Victorian Water Safety Certificate as possible. We also want to see as many students in the water completing swimming lessons, especially those who missed out in 2020. And finally, we all value our shared mission of preventing aquatic-related injury and drownings. So there are really three things to focus on in 2021, and focus on these while you're determining your best school swimming and water safety program as well. So there you have a couple of options with your programs. Obviously, practical and wet programs in the water, your actual swimming lessons are very, very vital and important. But these can also be supported by dry programs. This is where you can teach water safety knowledge in a really interesting and different way, and also follow on from your swimming lessons, or even provide drive programs before your swimming lessons as a little bit of an introduction to the students for what they're about to experience. So there are a whole range of different ways that you can deliver your school swimming and water safety program. We're going to give you some ideas today, but please don't think that this is the limitation of the things that you can do. You may have your own ideas as well, and we certainly encourage you to share these in the chat function as well, as this will allow other schools and other teachers to see the different ideas that you may have. And we all need to work together to make sure that we're delivering our best school swimming programs next year. So please don't hesitate to pop those ideas in the chat, and we might even be able to get to them towards the end of this webinar. So a great option, obviously, first of all, we encourage you all to enrol your students in school swimming lessons. So your typical swimming lessons at either a local pool, or perhaps your school has an inbuilt pool at your school itself, and making sure that those students are getting their swimming lessons there. Now, you may choose to arrange a school swimming carnival. This would allow you to connect with multiple schools in your area. You can all hire out some lanes at a pool. You can hire out the whole pool itself, or you might be able to host it at your own school if you have a pool there as well. Create an expression of interest or a registration list for the schools in your area, and you may be able to offer a fun day or an actual swimming carnival there. Now, you could actually incorporate a whole lot of different stations at this carnival. So after your students have completed quite a few swimming lessons, the number of swimming lessons that you see appropriate for your students, this may be an option towards the end of your school swimming and water safety program. One of the stations could be in order to assess the Victorian Water Safety Certificate, and you can also have some dry stations and some different wet stations as well. So this really allows you to make the most of your time at the pool, combining with different schools, making it a really social day as well, and also allowing you that opportunity to assess the Victorian Water Safety Certificate. So that's just one extra option that you might think about for your school swimming program in 2021. Another option that you may consider is booking an OWLE program. Now, it is very important to note that this is an add-on. This doesn't replace your swimming lessons. As I mentioned before, these are very, very important. Students learn best when they are in the water, in the pool, learning their key water safety lessons and those sorts of things in the water itself. The Open Water Learning Experience program allows students to take their learnings from the pool and apply them to an open water environment, such as a beach or a lake, an inland waterway, a river, etc., etc. So this is actually a great idea for your senior students, especially your grade 5, 6 students, as they are very likely to be heading into high school the following year, where they may experience some different camps or excursions that often involve water-based experiences, such as surfing, canoeing, and those sorts of things. So a really good thing for you to consider for your senior students as just that extra, allowing them to utilise their skills in that open water environment that's very different to a pool. Now, there are lots of different options for this. It is an evidence-based program. It is reviewed annually. The program outline, it can be delivered either a half day or a full day program. There are also carnival options, and this involves a range of activities covering all aquatic environments as well. This can be delivered as a face-to-face, so Lifesaving Victoria can deliver this for you, or you can contact us to explore a partner delivery option if you would like to be trained to deliver this to your own students. That is certainly something that you can do as well. The environments vary. As I said, this could be at a beach, a surf beach, an inland waterway, but it can even occur at a pool as well. So the students can utilise some survival skills in open waterways in a pool environment if you are unable to access an open water environment. Now, we've had a lot of participation numbers from 2019 to 2020. We had 17,863 participants. And over the 2018-2019 year, we had 19,467 students. So we've received some great feedback with this program, and obviously it's a very popular one for students and a great one for you to think about, just to make it a little bit different, maybe at the end of your swimming lessons as that final extra addition to your program. Something that you can think about as a dry option for your swimming and water safety program is planning a virtual visit. Now, this may be something that is very common, especially during this year, as a lot of people were learning remotely and studying remotely. So things were often happening virtually. So this is something that doesn't have to stop once we are back in the classroom. you may be able to get in contact with your local surf club, a local fisherman club, a local anything club really, and get them to dial in and have a chat to the students about water safety in multiple different environments. So this gives them that extra insight into the different areas that people may be experiencing water and how to stay safe around those waterways. Students can interact with these people, they can ask them questions, they can interview them, whatever you wish to do. That also makes it quite cross-curricular. You can practice it in the classroom and then have this as an optional day where you do get to interact with these sorts of people in the different sorts of environments. Another dry program could be booking a knowledge-based program such as Sink or Swim. Now, this again is an incursion program, or this is an incursion program itself, whereby Lifesaving Victoria can send a trained lifeguard to deliver this program. It's usually between 45 minutes to 1 hour, and they deliver a range of activities covering all aquatic environments. Now, it's certainly not just a sit down and listen type of incursion. The students all get actively involved, as you can see in some of those photos there, and it's a great way for them to interact with a trained lifeguard or lifesaver as well. Now, it is obviously reviewed annually. As I said before, the program typically runs from 45 minutes to 1 hour, and it is delivered, it's targeted towards the year level that you are booking for. So it can cover foundation students right up until senior school or high school students as well. Again, Lifesaving Victoria can arrange to deliver this for your school, or you can get in contact with us to explore a partner delivery option if you would like to be trained to deliver this yourself at your school. In 2019 and 2020, we saw over 15,000 students complete this program, and across the 2018-2019 year, we saw over 22,000 students complete this program. So very well-known program. It has been around for a little while, and a great one for you guys to think about as well. We also have the option of a water safety tech time experience. Now, your school may have some of these pieces of technology or the equipment already. If you don't, it may be something that you consider purchasing for next year to think about the different ways that you can utilise this. It's certainly not limited to swimming and water safety education. You can use it for lots and lots of different things. I'm sure as teachers, you may have heard of these things before and thinking about the different ways that you can utilise them. Obviously, aquatic balls or the Sphero are a great one to use for these. You can see in that bottom photo there that students have access to an iPad and they're able to direct the Spheros around a little beach scene there and answering questions and having discussions at the same time about water safety. The green screen is a fantastic one and very easy to be able to assemble yourself. All you need is maybe a portable whiteboard and a large piece of green material, as well as a piece of technology like the iPad there. And you can have the students creating movies to teach other people about key water safety messages or many different things like that. Lifesaving Victoria also have some virtual reality tours. These are completely free, and you certainly do not need any VR headsets to be able to use these VR tours. You can just project them onto an interactive whiteboard. Students can access them from their computers, from iPads, from phones, lots of different ways to access these. And you can take a tour around different waterways, learning all about how to stay safe around these waterways as well. Now, we are having some resources being currently developed for our Water Safety Tech Time program. This may be available in 2021, hopefully towards the start of 2021. It will involve a lot of cross-curricular activities, so a great one to utilise throughout the year, depending on what your focus is during each term. It is targeted towards grades 3 to 6, and we will, of course, look at offering this as a partner delivery option in 2021. So definitely consider getting in contact with us if you would like more information about that. Another option is to deliver knowledge-based programs, obviously with our VR tours that I explained earlier, but we also have our Water Safety at Home suite, lots and lots of little resources in there. Now, this suite involves a whole lot of things, a lot of videos mostly, and some activity booklets that go alongside these videos. They were a hit while a lot of people were studying and learning from home. And they teach a combination of swimming, water safety, life-saving, CPR and first aid lessons with those videos. Now, these videos can range from 10 minutes long to 45 minutes long. And it's a great thing for you to think about maybe leading into your swimming lessons. Maybe you want to show a couple of these before students commence their lessons. Maybe during, if there's a particular focus in one lesson in one day that all of your students focused on, maybe have a look through those and see if there's a video that really connects to that focus. It really helps solidify that learning that they would have learnt during the day when they see that in another context, such as the video. And they can also continue and practice the activities that connect to those videos as well. It may also be an option that you think about after your programs to again solidify that learning, get them to summarise what they have learnt and completing those activities that go along with the videos there. And finally, another practical dry program that you can deliver are some of our health and physical education lesson plans. Now, these include a whole range of different activities, such as dry rescues, relays, or scenario activities. You can utilise typical sports equipment found in your school. That's really what we were focusing on when we were creating these lesson plans. And allows you to teach water safety lessons at school to connect with swimming lessons. So things like dry rescues might be really good for students who have never experienced a rescue before, for them to practice their rescues on dry land before then practicing these during their swimming lessons at the pool. Also scenario activities to help them think about the different waterways that they may experience, and they may likely also do some scenario activities in the pool as well. So it really connects those dry experiences to the wet experiences that they will have at the pool to really get them thinking and practicing what they will be utilising when they get into the water. All these lesson plans are supported by instructional videos, and they all connect to the knowledge component of the Victorian Water Safety Certificate. So great options for you to teach the students so that they can practice and continue learning towards achieving that certificate at the end of the day. Now, moving into some tips and tricks. Obviously, 2021 is going to be a very important year for swimming and water safety education. So we need to think about the creative and practical ways that we can deliver our programs to as many Victorian students as possible to ensure that they are prepared for water-based activities by developing their skills and knowledge so that they can remain safe in and around water. So that is why we have shared with you some of these ideas today. Now, it's really important to think about, and I will go through this during this slide here with all our tips and tricks, how you can best time your programs and make sure that students are learning all the things that they could be learning, both in the water, but also in the classroom as well. Now, you may be thinking, how many of you are taking your students to swimming lessons and not doing any other learning in the classroom in regards to swimming and water safety? You may be doing that, you may not be doing that, and that's fine. That's why you're here today listening to us, so that you can take on board some different ideas for how you can best utilise your time in the pool. As obviously next year is going to be a very important year to do that. So first of all, our first tip is to obviously utilise your unused 2020 funding. Now, this is great news that you are able to carry this through. If you're not sure whereabouts it is, it can be found in the student resource package that you would have received at the beginning of the school year in 2020. So get in contact with who may be in charge of that at your school and discuss this with your principal team and see what you have remaining in that unused funding from this year that you can then take into 2021. Think about prioritising students and classes who missed out on their swimming lessons in 2020. You may have your junior students who completed their swimming lessons at the start of the year, maybe in term 1, but then your senior and middle students may have missed out due to the cancellation of their swimming lessons during the year. So think about who you would prioritise in that situation. Obviously, we do want everyone to experience their swimming lessons by following the curriculum requirements, and that the curriculum requires us to teach swimming and water safety programs at least once in foundation, at least once across year 1 and 2, at least once across year 3 to 4, and at least once across year 5 to 6. Now, when I say at least once, it is up to your school and the the aquatic facility to help you determine the best way that you can have that program. but you do need to ensure that you are teaching swimming and water safety to meet the curriculum requirements for each of those year levels or bands there. So think about how you can be as flexible as possible with your 2021 programs. Now, this is thinking about timings. You might typically use the same programs each year or follow the same programs each year, but maybe now is the time to think about how you can best utilise your timing with your programs. Maybe you often have them in term 1 and term 4. Have a think about whether you can fit them in term 2 and term 3 as well. Now, obviously get in contact with your swim school or your aquatic facility to discuss the options for this flexibility as well. Some great case studies that we have seen in the past. One school actually sent their students to their swimming lessons at the end of the day. So the students all jumped on the bus after lunch or before lunch, travelled down to the swimming school, they had their swimming lessons, and then the parents collected them from the swim school at the end of the day. So that really allowed them to utilise the time during the day and also allowed them to fit in those lessons at that swim school, as a lot of the lessons were occurring in the middle of the day. And that may be something that your school does as well. So think about that. Maybe you do it the other way. Maybe parents drop their students off at the pool in the morning and the school bus takes them back to school after their lessons that have occurred that morning. Think about all the different ways that you could do that. Even be creative with your program duration. You may decide to have a couple of days less in the pool if you would like to teach some water safety knowledge activities such as the dry activities at your school. Now, you can definitely get your swim school involved in these. They get in contact with them. They may be more than happy to assist you with delivering these water safety lessons on your school properties, so either in the classroom, at the gymnasium, or anything like that as well. You may decide to have a day less in the pool and then have an open water learning experience program at an inland waterway or the ocean or the beach, for example. You may choose to have a school carnival whereby many different schools come together for one of those days and the students get to practice their swimming skills that they have developed over the past few days at their swimming lessons at the swim school. So thinking about all the different ways that you may be able to utilise this, considering we do have a number of students who may have not been to their swimming lessons since 2019. So we want to make sure that we are being as practical as possible, as creative as possible, to make sure that all of our students are getting in the water in 2021. Now think about how you can teach water safety in the classroom, either before your swimming lessons, during your swimming lessons, or after your swimming lessons, so you can make the most of the in-pool swimming lessons at the pool. And of course, ensure that your program is aligned to the Victorian curriculum. So have a look at that, see what the accessible items are, see what the content descriptors outline, and make sure that your program can be delivered alongside that Victorian curriculum there. Now, we do have some very exciting news about our Victorian Water Safety Certificate dashboard. You may have used the Victorian Water Safety Certificate in the past, or this may be something that the swim school that you are sending your students to have been using. If you haven't heard of it before, definitely jump on the website that's on the screen now and have a look around and see what it is. It is in fact a government initiative, a Victorian government initiative, that is something that occurs on top of the swimming program itself. There are 4 competencies outlined, and these involve a knowledge component, a swimming component, a rescue component, and a survival skills component as well. So a great thing for students to be able to target themselves towards, seeing all the skills that they can achieve, and if they can achieve this certificate itself, definitely jump onto that website and upload those certificates. This allows the Victorian Government to monitor how our general Victorian children are going and see how we can best target programs in the future to make sure that we're getting as many students as possible achieving this certificate. The new dashboard launch is something that's very exciting. This means that schools and swim schools can jump onto their own dashboard and see these different options that you can see on the screen. So you can see how many students you have uploaded certificates for. You can see different graphs to compare the year levels of the students that you have uploaded certificates for, and different things like that as well. You also have the opportunity, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this in the past, where you have missed that 48-hour cut-off line for downloading your certificates. You can now jump onto your own dashboard and download those certificates whenever you wish. If you don't have access to it, get in contact with your swim school and they will be able to do the same thing. So it's much easier to utilise, and it means that everybody can jump on at their own leisure and have a look at it and see how their students are going. And just a reminder, if you do wish to download those certificates at any time before this dashboard comes out and is released in 2021, jump onto that website that is on the screen now, and you can access those certificates to download and share with your students before the end of the school year. Now, a great little update as well, there are other funding opportunities available for your school. You may have heard of a couple of these before. The first one is the Sporting Schools funding. Now, this is available for all Australian primary school students and also towards targeted Year 7 and 8 students. Australian primary schools can apply for funding once per school term during the application open dates, and these dates can be found at that website on the screen there. Now, you do have to ensure that you are meeting the requirements of this funding. There are certain things that you can spend the funding on, but all that information about those sorts of things can be found at that website as well. The second option for school funding is the Active Schools funding. There is a Victorian government initiative, and they announced that the $24.2 million Active Schools initiative builds on existing programs and funding to boost support and resources for schools to get kids moving. Now, up to 480 disadvantaged government schools each year will receive an Active Schools funding boost to help meet the costs of running sport, outdoor education and active recreation programs after school. A further 90 schools per year will receive extra funding to implement a whole school approach to physical activity. And the department will obviously advise schools of how to apply. But if you would like more information about that, you can find it on that website on the screen there, and definitely jump on board and find out more about the Active Schools funding. Now, we did have a very exciting week last week. You may have received a couple of emails from us about this. You may have seen these out and about yourselves or on our social media posts. Now, last week we did have a fantastic installation placed at the Docklands Marina in Melbourne, and we had two ducks there. We decided to call them Delilah and Dennis, Dennis the Menace, the little one down there. And they were obviously there to encourage and share our important message of adult supervision of students around water this summer. Now, we know that because these school swimming lessons and after school and before swimming lessons were cancelled for the majority of this year for students across Victoria, that it is very, very important that adults are supervising children around water at all times, especially this summer, as students just haven't received that same experience that they usually would during the year with their swimming lessons. Now, the exciting news is that we are allowing you to book a Delilah and Dennis visit for your event in 2021, and you can book those in by contacting us on that email shown on the screen now. So that's schoolswimming@lsv.com.au. You may be hosting a swimming carnival. You may want them for Water Safety Week next year, or a different special week that you're having, which can encourage students to learn about water safety and swimming. So definitely get in contact with us if this is something that you would like to do. They do not have to be installed in water. They can also be installed on land as well. So don't worry, schools, if you don't have your own pool or access to any water, we can certainly bring them to you anyway. So definitely think about whether you would like those brought along to your school or your facility at any time next year. Now, finally, we also have some Water Safety Week competitions. Perhaps your school did something special for water safety this year. And Water Safety Week obviously occurred last week from Monday the 30th of November to Sunday the 6th of December. Now, often Water Safety Week will typically occur during the first week of December each year, and it sure did this year as well. So if you didn't get a chance to deliver any programs during Water Safety Week or host any activities, don't fret this year. Make sure you focus on it next year, as it's a great opportunity leading into those summer months to get students involved in different activities and thinking all things water safety. So this year we did offer a couple of competitions. Our first one was the colouring competition for children. So if you've got any students at school who would love to get involved in this, The competitions do close at midnight next Monday the 14th. So Monday the 14th at 11:59 p.m. is when these competitions close. So you've still got a bit of time to get your students involved. And we also had a school and swim school competition as well. Now, Lifesaving Victoria are encouraging schools and swim schools to deliver fun, creative and innovative Water Safety Week programs. The school or swim school that demonstrates innovation, a wide community reach and shares the key message of supervision will go into the draw to win some great prizes. And obviously there's some great prizes for that colouring competition as well. So for any entries or for extra info, if you'd like to check it out, please do jump on that website that's shown on the screen and you can show us photos or videos or explain to us exactly what you did during Water Safety Week to go into the draw to win those great prizes. Now, we have absolutely flown through this webinar, but I will give this opportunity now for you to put any questions that you have in the chat, if you have any. I can't see any at the moment, but I will allow you to even unmute yourselves as there is only a small group of us here today. If you would like to share your question verbally, otherwise feel free to pop that in the chat section there and I will give you a couple of minutes to do so. While you are typing in your questions or thinking about any questions that you would like to share verbally, on behalf of all of us at Lifesaving Victoria, I would like to say a very big thank you for your ongoing support and commitment to swimming and water safety in 2020. Now, it has been a very, very big year and a challenging year for many of us, but we do always know and understand the importance of swimming and water safety education. It can save lives at the end of the day. So that is why we're here today, to continue to support you for next year, but also say a very, very big thank you to you all for showing your commitment to ensuring that we can teach children about how to stay safe in and around water. We hope that you have learnt a lot this year, and if you have had any questions at all, that you have been able to get in contact with us. We will continue to keep reading emails and taking phone calls during the school holidays as well. So if you have any questions at all at any time, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Now, we have just had a question pop up in the chat there from Catherine. So Catherine says, when you say you need to run your program at least once across the year levels, is 5 days the minimum of school swimming lessons in each year level? Now, that is a great question and we do often get that question. So thank you, Catherine. Now, there isn't a minimum number of lessons that you need to run in order to achieve the requirements of the Victorian curriculum. We obviously suggest that the more lessons, the better. Typically, we do see schools run maybe 10-day or 2-week programs. That's the general number of lessons that schools will typically offer. However, there is no minimum. What we do recommend is that you get in contact with your swim school, have a discussion about what your aims are for your swimming lessons. Perhaps your students are very new to swimming lessons and you would like them to focus on their survival skills and being safe around water, in and around water. And they can help you to determine the best number of lessons for them to achieve that. Perhaps you would like the students to focus on achieving the Victorian Water Safety Certificate. Hopefully everybody is sort of working towards achieving that certificate, but maybe you have a group of students who are ready for that, and that's what your focus will be for your swimming lessons. So get in contact with your swim school, your aquatic facility or your provider and discuss with them what the best number of lessons will be for your students to be able to achieve their goals for the swimming lessons. Any other questions at all? No worries, Catherine. Thank you for that. If you do have any questions, we will remain open for the next maybe 10 minutes. We'll stay on. We have finished this webinar quite early, earlier than we expected, but that's always nice, I'm sure, on a Thursday afternoon after a busy day at school. So what I will do is I will leave our contact details on the screen for you here. So you can get in contact with us at Lifesaving Victoria by emailing schoolswimming@lsv.com.au or calling 9676 6940. You can also contact DET at school.swimming@education.vic.gov.au. Thank you everyone for joining us here today. Before you do disappear, I think Catherine's had another question as well. Another fantastic question, what age do you recommend the water safety certificate to be achieved? Now, the Victorian Water Safety Certificate can be achieved by any student at any year level. So you may have some very experienced foundation students who are working towards achieving the certificate, and maybe they can demonstrate those competencies already so they can achieve that. Typically, we do see the more senior primary students achieving this certificate around the grade 5-6 mark. Grade 6 is the most obvious or the most common one who have been achieving this. As the Victorian Water Safety Certificate with this, it is anticipated, and this is by the Victorian Government, it is anticipated that by the end of primary school, all Victorian students have achieved this Victorian Water Safety Certificate. So that's when we typically get to see that the grade 6 students are achieving this, as the competencies sort of meet what they would typically be learning in their swimming lessons at that year level. But certainly any student at any year level can achieve this certificate, and they can even be achieving these in high school as well. So another great question. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, everyone, thank you very much again for today. We will stick around for another 5 or so minutes in case you do have any questions that you would like to pop in the chat. As we mentioned earlier, this webinar has been recorded, so if you would like to share this with any of your staff members or colleagues, definitely do so. We will be in contact with you all when it is available to watch. Again, thank you very much for your ongoing commitment to swimming and water safety education. It is such an important and crucial life skill. It is lifelong learning, and we appreciate that you are all here today to learn as much as you can about it and to ensure that your 2021 programs are absolutely fantastic. If you do have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to get in touch with either Lifesaving Victoria or the Department of Education and Training. And we hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, an enjoyable remainder of Term 4, a Happy New Year, and enjoyable school holidays, which you have all definitely earned. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great afternoon.